two kickers on the roster. Green Bay drafted Smack in the sixth round last month. The only kicker taken in the draft was 3 years after drafting Anders Carlson in the sixth round, only to watch him struggle and get cut prior to the following season. And Brian Gutekunst was asked why draft the other rookie kicker after the last one was a disaster.
I mean, you got to keep trying. I mean, right? I mean, it's like all players go through tough times in the National Football League. Kickers are front and center. What we did, move up to get him. Obviously, we think very highly of him. We think he has a very good chance to succeed in this league. What we did with Anders as well. So I mean, it's part of this, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
McManus went 44 for 51 over the last 2 years, but struggled in postseason with 3 field goals and an extra point, and what proved to be close losses to the Eagles and the Bears. Meanwhile, NFL confirmed today that it would be releasing the 2026 schedule coming up next Thursday. As for the Wisconsin football program, they're on a bit of a break right now before those summer workouts begin later this month. Wisconsin opens the season September 6th at Lambeau Field against Notre Dame. Kick on that one was announced yesterday for 6:30.
Everyone should feel confident about their path forward. Exact Sciences is now Abbott, and together they will transform the way cancer is detected, diagnosed, and managed for more people around the world. They continue to help patients and healthcare providers make timely, informed decisions before, during, and after a cancer diagnosis by partnering with the industry's best minds and top institutions to transform how to approach cancer. Known for the Cologuard and Oncotype DX tests, allow Abbott to help make a positive impact in your health path forward. Learn more at abbott.com.
Well, the Brewers and Yankees getting a series going tonight in Milwaukee. Crew comes into the night 19-16, fourth place in the AL Central. New York 26-12 and leading the AL East. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Kyle.
Brian, when you have that kicking competition later this summer, how do you make sure you don't lean toward Trey because you traded up?
Sure. No, I think that, as we go through that, I think that's one thing. We've done a pretty good job here. And I think it's, in some ways, we've always had a little bit of an advantage because, we don't have an owner. We're not trying to prove something to an owner. We can just kind of let the best players win the job. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how we'll approach it. But we got some talented guys in that room. We're going to have to figure that out. But I did think it was important to add competition to that. And certainly we thought he was the best kicker in this draft. And I think, Cam had a very strong opinion about that, and as did I. And I thought, I felt fortunate to be able to acquire him. What we did to move up to get him, obviously we think very highly of him. We think he has a very good chance to succeed in this league. But we did with Anders as well. So, I mean, that's part of this, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Brian Gutekunst, I believe, the night after the draft, day 3. So the Packers had just finished their draft. And it's some audio related to, of course, Trey Smack, the selection of Trey Smack, who, as you heard in Zach's update, the Packers released Brandon McManus earlier today. So now Trey Smack is the leader in the clubhouse. I guess Harvick is still there. Maybe they bring in like some Greg Joseph type for training camp just to drum up some competition. But you would think Trey Smack, at least much more than he was when you woke up this morning, the leader in the clubhouse to be the Packers kicker in 2026. And I identified that cut and played it the Monday after the draft. Matt Schneidman asking, hey, Brian, how do you not tilt a kicking competition towards the guy that you just traded up to get? You're going to have a kicking competition, McManus, Harvick, Trey Smack. How do you make sure the kicking competition isn't slanted towards the guy you just drafted? And I played that audio the Monday after the draft and said, Goody's answer doesn't matter. It's the question's the perfect question. It will be slanted. They're going to slant. They're going to rig this kicking competition the best they can to get Trey Smack to be their starter, because you don't draft up to get a guy who's cheaper, younger, and hopefully better, just to, cut him in training camp because he's not slightly as good as maybe the other guy. So the kicking competition was always going to be slanted, now even more so. Here's the full answer, Brian Gutekunst, after the draft, just for the sake of being comprehensive to start the show here. Goody asked about drafting Trey Smack, trying again, drafting a kicker. They tried it with Anders Carlson. It didn't work. Here's what Goody had to say the day of that selection.
Well, I mean, you got to keep trying. I mean, right? I mean, it's like,
well, first of all, you don't have to. You got to keep trying. Well, not necessarily, but sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, you got to keep trying. I mean, right? I mean, it's like, that's all players go through tough times in the National Football League. Kickers are, front and center because it's not like they, if the guard misses a block and the guy goes for 20 yards, nobody, nobody's on him like if the guy misses a kick. So it's a little different that way. I certainly expect all these rookies to come in and have tough times. I mean, that's part of the National Football League. But I do think, again, what we did to move up to get him, obviously we think very highly of him. We think he has a very good chance to succeed in this league. But we did it with honors as well, so I mean, it's that's part of this, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
That's the funny thing. That answer is really good and makes a lot of sense until he has to, throw this bucket of cold water on.
But we did it with honors as well.
But we thought that about the other guy too, and he was mostly a disaster and probably cost us a playoff winner. Made it significantly harder in San Francisco to get that game in Jordan Love's first year as a starter. It's the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Hope your week is just wrapping up just great. I hope you have lots of great energy as we head into the weekend. Tomorrow's the Bill Michaels Open. The energy in the studio here is just, I mean, can't you, everyone can feel it in here. Right? There's no one else here in this studio or the studios next to me. This building's pretty quiet come Friday at 4:00. But the energy here, at least in the show, is going to be great. I'll take your calls throughout 608-321-1670. I want to start with the Packers kicker, but I want to cover a baseball story. Freddie Peralta has been linked to a team, potentially a rival team of the Brewers. Dare I say Freddie Peralta could be looking for a new challenge in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about that. And I want to talk a little NBA as well. I've had some good response this week. Anytime we've brought up the Bucks, whether it's the hiring of the new coach, anything that Jimmy Haslam has had to say, or just discussing the future of Giannis. The Bucks typically don't move the needle on the show too much. We'll do a segment and then we'll get back to the Packers or we'll get back to the Brewers. This week, there's been a real appetite for some Bucks talk. So we'll talk about some of the rumors and some of the stories floating around. And I've enlisted our friend Justin Garcia 15 minutes before the show. I said, shoot, I should text Justin. I wonder what he's up to. Because today is also May 8th. It's the anniversary of arguably the best Greatest Dead show ever. Grateful Dead show ever. Cornell, 77. I said, Justin, why don't you come on tonight? We could celebrate that. We could talk a little Bucks. And I just love Justin because he's never up to much, it would seem. He's always like, sure, I'm not doing anything. So he'll be here at 5:00. But I want to start with the kicker. We learned earlier today the Packers are cutting ties. They're kicking McManus to the curb. I'll read you a little bit, get some of the details, the financials here from Ryan Wood, Packers News. He writes, so much for a kicking competition in training camp. After paying Brandon McManus a $1 million roster bonus in March, the Green Bay Packers are releasing him. They still have Lucas Havrisek on the roster, but McManus's release clears a path for Trey Smack to win the job in his rookie season. The Packers traded a pair of 7th-round picks in last month's NFL draft to select Smack at the end of the 6th round. Smack, a 3-year starter at Florida, was the only kicker selected in this year's draft. He made 83% of his field goals with the Gators, including 10 of 13 from at least 50 yards. Straight ball, accuracy. Packers special teams coordinator Cam Accord said of Smack, his ball does move a lot. For me, I don't need a guy, and I've been blessed to coach a lot of guys that are really good. I don't need a guy that can kick it 65 yards personally. I want the guy that's going to put it through consistently from 55 or 58. And I laughed at that, and I said, well, maybe we can work up to that. Can I get a guy who's consistent and reliable from 45? Been a little bit of an issue. It was less of an issue with McManus until it was a really important kick or a playoff game. Then he became a lot less reliable in that range. McManus stabilized the Packers' kicking position after being signed midway through 24, but he struggled returning from a quad injury on his kicking leg last season. He missed 3 kicks in the playoffs at Chicago, left 7 points on the board in what became a 4-point wild card round loss to the Bears. After returning from injury, McManus struggled getting the timing back on his kicks, eventually leading to his trajectory missing unexpectedly left. McManus had 32 straight kicks entering the playoffs, but he missed on a 55-yard field goal before halftime and a fourth-quarter extra point wide left. On his third, a 44-yard field goal attempt with less than 3 minutes left to play, McManus overcompensated and pushed the kick wide right. In a thank you message to the Packers, the fans, and his teammates, he wrote, from the moment I arrived, you welcomed me and my family with open arms and made us feel at home. The support, kindness, and passion you've shown me mean more than words can express. The environment of Lambeau Field is truly incredible. There's nothing like running out of that tunnel and seeing an entire community united by love for this team. The energy, the pride, the tradition, it's something special. To be part of, I'm not going to read the rest of it. It's possibly a healthy McManus could regain his timing this fall, but the Packers targeted Smack as the best college kicker in this year's draft. When GM Brian Gutekunst's 7th-round board dried up, he aggressively pursued improving his kicking position. The move re-enters the Packers into the land of rookie kickers, an area they struggled to stabilize after turning the page from Mason Crosby. And then he goes on to talk a little bit about Anders Carlson. Can I just say I'm unhappy about this move for a very selfish reason? May I put the me in media here for a sec? This just shoots a big hole in our summer content calendar on Wisconsin Sports Talk Radio. And it's a continuation of what happened earlier this week. The Packers signed Tyrod Taylor on Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Monday. A big part of the summer sports talk calendar as we're waiting for training camp to start, we have a couple of big-time topics that we hit. First is, should the Packers sign a veteran backup? Well, the Packers went and signed a veteran backup in May. So you cross that off the whiteboard of topics that we can cover in July and early August. And now the Packers have released their veteran kicker. So it's like, well, now we're going to have a kicking competition, but no one's going to buy it. You know, they're going to have Trace Mack, Lucas Haversek, and probably like some Greg Joseph retread type guy that no one really takes seriously. And even if that guy kicks out of his mind, he still probably won't be the kicker. Trace Mack will probably be the guy week one, unless something absolutely insane happens in training camp. So what are we supposed to talk about on Sports Talk Radio? It's just two huge topics coming off the board. I saw a lot of folks reacting strongly on Twitter to this move happening today instead of, a month or two ago, because he was due that $1.5 million bonus, I believe in March. I don't remember what date. Andy Herman saying it doesn't matter all that much in the scheme of things. $1.5 million in the NFL terms is couch cushion money, but $1 million roster bonus for McManus for absolutely nothing, and $500K to Trevon Diggs for one meaningful snap is an interesting use of money. And Aaron Nagler, who's on the show yesterday, chimed in on this. I think this makes sense. The Packers were probably holding on to McManus just in case they didn't draft the kicker that they were targeting. Like the Packers took Trace Mack in the 6th round. If the Jags, and the Jags have a good kicker, so maybe that's a bad example, but, let's just say the Browns or the Panthers or whoever, all of a sudden out of nowhere, take Trace Mack in the 5th round. And the Packers plan to take Trace Mack in the 6th or the 7th, dries up, and they're kind of left with their you-know-what in their hand. Well, now we have Brandon McManus on the roster. And it's probably not the worst plan in the world. It's probably not the worst strategy to think, well, last year Brandon McManus was hurt, and he struggled to find his timing and his delivery again. And Ryan Wood, I just read you a little bit on that. It wouldn't have been insane for the Packers to say, Brandon McManus is going to get healthy. He's been a good kicker for a long time. We're perfectly fine with him being our kicker going into the season. I'm sure in the back of their heads, they're like, damn, really would have liked to get younger, better, cheaper. But again, there's worse plans. It's not a complete and total non-starter going into this season with Brandon McManus. And you might be saying, well, Grant, how could they possibly have gone into the season with Brandon McManus? He was instrumental in blowing a massive playoff game. To which I'd say, yes, but so is their head coach, and they gave him a massive extension. So this is not an organization that's prone to overreacting from one bad loss at the end of the year, or even 5 in a row. Clearly, obviously, because they kept the head coach, kept everybody else. So I'm sure in the back of the mind of Brian Gutekunst and others, they were thinking, hopefully this draft works out. We like this Trace Mack fella. Hopefully we'll be able to draft him the 6th, the 7th round, somewhere near the end. We'll be able to use some of those extra picks. We'll find a way to get this kicker. But if not, Brandon McManus is on the roster. And while we're not psyched about going into the season with him as the guy again, there are worse things, right? We could be going into the season year 2 Anders Carlson, or that guy who replaced Anders Carlson, Chris Narveson, Brandon Narveson, the other guy. He was on with Bill at the Super Bowl. Nice guy, but clearly very forgettable. I can't even remember his name. He sucked. So they brought Brandon McManus in the middle of that season. And for the most part, he was good, until it mattered. And then he started missing kicks in playoff games. So not the most ridiculous strategy. If Trace Mack had come off the board a round or two before the Packers anticipated, and they had to go into the season with Brandon McManus, then they would have. Had the Packers thought there's no way we're going with McManus, no matter the circumstances, they would have cut him before paying $1 million roster bonus. That $1 million was basically an insurance policy. We're going to pay $100 million to make sure that even if we can't get our rookie kicker of choice, we at least still have McManus, who we think is probably still fine when healthy. You have no way of knowing. These kickers are so weird. Justin Tucker went from the best kicker in football to completely and totally unplayable 2 years later. It's just kind of how the position works. They're like relievers, or corner. I think corners are like this too, where it's like all of a sudden you have the best player in the world, and 2 years later they get hurt once or they have a bad game and they just never recover. So I think the Packers, and Brian Gutekunst pretty clearly said it in that soundbite that you heard, are trying to find their next guy. They're going to keep drafting. They're going to keep trying. They're looking for their next Mason Crosby. And I would imagine the Packers are probably going to keep trying to draft kickers until they find that next guy, or until Brian Gutekunst loses his job. And he won't lose it, because of a kicker, I don't think. I mean, if Matt LaFleur can't lose his job after the way this last season ended, Brian Gutekunst isn't going to lose his job over a kicker, right? But I would imagine this is going to be Brian Gutekunst's strategy as long as he is in charge and selecting players and building rosters in Green Bay. They're going to keep drafting or keep taking college guys until they find their guy who can be their guy for 10 plus years. The way that Mason Crosby was, or, the way that Ryan Longwell was. I know that so many people you can't draft kickers. It's a waste. I don't know. Would it really be that different if Trace Mack was an undrafted free agent? I would wager no. And I doubt that the Packers would have given up 2 7th-round picks and used their 6th-round pick to go up and get this kicker if there were players in the 6th or the 7th round who they had really, really high on their board. I don't think the Packers sacrificed a player or two that they really loved in order to go get a kicker. That would just surprise me. So those are my thoughts at this hour, at least, on the release of Brandon McManus. And I think we're going to be worse for it on Sports Talk Radio, because I think this kicking competition is going to be a lot less interesting, and therefore we will have worse segments on the talk show. We'll have to focus on competition in the tight end room or in the wide receiver room or what. We'll find something else. But kicker competition is just so good for Sports Talk Radio, and we've kind of been robbed of it. So it's a little bit of a bummer. I'll take your calls on this after a short break if you'd like to join, 608-321-1670. Otherwise, I have a couple of other Packers things I want to discuss, including the way they're going to configure the O-line. We touched on this a bit last night, some audio from Adam Stenavich. I also have a couple of comments from Luke Butkus, their offensive line coach, and maybe we can try to take our best spitball at maybe how some of these players will line up in the fall. So your Packers calls next, 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisco Sports. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, you got to keep trying. I mean, right? I mean, it's like, that's all players go through tough times in the National Football League. The kickers are, front and center because it's not like they, if the guard misses a block and the guy goes for 20 yards, nobody, nobody's on him like if the guy misses a kick. So it's a little different that way. I certainly expect all these rookies to come in and have tough times. I mean, that's part of the National Football League. But I do think, again, what we did to move up to get him, obviously we think very highly of him. We think he has a very good chance to succeed in this league. But we did it with honors as well, so I mean, it's that's part of this, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
Brian Gutekunst one more time talking about his strategy of drafting another kicker. That was the final night of the draft. It makes me laugh a little bit. You got to keep trying. And I'm like, well, you can keep trying. You are continuing to try. You don't have to. No one's making you. It's kind of a funny soundbite. He gives some good sound, logic, and reasoning. And then at the very end of that soundbite, kind of caps it all off by saying, well, then again, we thought that about the last guy.
But we did it with honors as well.
we thought all this about Anders Carlson too. Your thoughts on the Packers releasing Brandon McManus? Kind of thought it would happen in August when they would give you some sort of a token kicking competition. And then Trace Mack's going to be the guy. Brandon McManus is out, but they did it today. Instead, we can react to that news. Anything else going on with the Packers you want to discuss? 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, it's Coach Freed. How you doing?
Good evening, Coach Freed. I'm doing well.
Good. Two things for you. One, do we know where Weak Dale's whereabouts are? I just thought during this baseball conference tournament we'd have some good updates from the scribe.
I think he's probably there. He upped his rates. Can I just say about Dale? Dale Jorgensen can be a real prick, but he's an old school journalist. You know what I mean? So he wanted a higher rate to do hits every week. And I said, Dale, let's get through March Madness. Let's get into baseball season and we can we're negotiating right now. We're negotiating his rates.
Yeah, just make sure we get him ramped up for the fall before football season. I totally understand that. But I think tonight's the night I pull the trigger and get a Dayton Lane jersey.
DL Hall?
Hams in my system. Yeah. Get a few hams in my system outside of Section 420, stumble my way down to the team store and pull the trigger there.
So they're introducing, or not introducing, but I saw videos of CC Sabathia speaking. He's getting onto the Wall of Honor tonight. They have him in one of the Wisco jerseys. People on the internet aren't exactly happy about it.
They shouldn't be. Those things are a disgrace to baseball. Makes me look like I'm watching myself in U9 baseball.
So you just to be clear, you would purchase a full price DL Hall jersey, and that would be fine. But wearing you wouldn't wear a Wisco jersey.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Well,
I would even go out of my way to customize a DL Hall jersey for more money.
I mean, you might have to. I don't know that they have racks and racks of.
What can I say?
I don't know that they have racks and racks of DL Hall jerseys at the team store. You might have to customize it, Coach.
Yeah. Well, if they know I'm coming, they'll have them ready for me.
He's pitching well. I'll give it to you. Found an extra mile per hour or two on his fastball.
Yeah, they were really juiced up about that on the radio broadcast the other day.
They were. I can't tell if you're mocking me or if you were also listening because they were.
No. I'm not mocking you at all. I noticed it myself.
Okay, they were pretty juiced up about it. Just for the I don't just make these things. I don't just talk out of my ass on the radio. Lane Grindle and Josh Mauer were, and maybe it's because there was nothing else to be excited about in that game, but they were excited about it.
True.
Okay, well, good luck, Coach Freed.
That's all I got, Grant. Thank you.
You too. Invest in a couple of ice cold cans of hams and mosey your way down to the team store tonight. They do have they do have CC Sabathia in a Wisco jersey. Guys, I just don't care about the jerseys. I don't care. If you like them, if you don't like them, fine. It's just people throwing tantrums on the internet. So it's a Wisco jersey. Sorry if that upsets you. I don't know what to tell you. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Happy Free Phone Fins Up Friday.
Happy Fins Up Friday, Cone Roller. Fins up to you.
Yeah, and with your spirit. I don't like releasing Brandon McManus before we get a true competition.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might kind of inflate Trace Smack's already overinflated ego.
Okay.
Thinking like he won this job based on what exactly? Because he was drafted by the team. I don't know. But I think, the confidence of winning a true fair competition would have done well to carry over into the regular season for the rookie.
I am concerned about the sense of entitlement that comes with young athletes these days, especially Cone in the NIL era. I don't need to tell you about this. So I think there's a real thing. I would have liked for them to have a kicking competition. And even if Trey Smack doesn't really even win it, well, fine, but at least make him go through a charade for the sake of us all and for the sake of Sports Talk Radio. I would have appreciated the content, but that's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's basically like not having a primary in a political election. Like you're not going to weed out the best candidate. You're just going to handpick someone as a donor class. Brian Gutekunst likes
the donor. So what's this competition going to be? This is how I see a Cone. Haversack, who if they really loved, they wouldn't have drafted Trace Mack, and they'll probably bring in some other schlep. Like Greg Joseph. They could probably bring in Greg Jones. He was DFA'd. He's staying in the Brewers system. No one claimed him. I wonder why. So that would be my guess is they bring in some other guy who's got no chance to win the job. And Trace Mack is your kicker week 1. I'm with you, though. It's not exactly a strong competition.
Yeah, and, on the Greg Jones topic, maybe next time you got Kurt on or a Brewer beat guy, a scribe, could you maybe get some info on what's it like to get DFA'd and then not claimed? That's got to be just lowest of the low.
And it's not just him. It's happened to Matos. I think it happened to somebody else. I saw Onabom fan tweet. Says a lot about the Brewers active roster that every time they DFA a guy, he clears waivers. It's just true. It's very true. It does not speak highly of the Brewers' depth of talent on their 40-man.
No, not at all. But with that, Grant, have a great weekend. Great Friday. Fins up.
Fins up, Conan, with your spirit. Appreciate the donor. I knew exactly where he was going with that. You can't just skip the primary. The donor. Yeah, Goody's the donor class. Jared in DeForest texts in and says, I'm fine with the new jerseys, but I really miss the Friday home white pinstripes. Yeah, the jerseys or whatever. Here's another thing. I'll give you a Wisco jersey take. It's so early in the season. They started wearing them in April. And I just think the aesthetics of American Family Field early in the season, as I've told you before, I think they stink. It's darker. It's colder. The roof's closed more nights. It's kind of dingy. It's a fine ballpark, and I like the roof because it ensures that I'm going to see a game. No problem with the roof. But when you're building a jersey around those late summer, you remember the promo video they put out, those late summer sunsets, fishing on the dock, campfires that go past normal bedtime. All the, if that's the thing, can you wait until June? Wait until it is warm and people are going to jump off the dock and going out on the boat and having campfire. We're not there yet. So and they're wearing them every home weekend. They're really, really, really pushing them, So I would have waited until it's warmer, waited until it's sunnier, waited until we're really in the Wisco mood. Again, Ebo and I, had a little fun with that promo video. I think the promo and all the stuff, I thought the rollout was good. Just don't think people don't like the jerseys. I saw a comment on the live stream here on this where, Jesus, you guys are going nuts. It was a minute ago. How far do I have to scroll? Well, whatever. Maybe I missed it on the Wisco jerseys. It's fine. Maybe it's for the best. Cinderella Man says, here it is. I'd buy the Wisco jersey just to piss off the Milwaukee residents that are mad that people outside of Milwaukee watch the Brewers. Yeah, that's another thing. The City Connector, well, it's supposed to be about the city. It's okay, but they made it about the state. Just Milwaukee people, just relax. Relax. Not everything is a slight to you. I've talked about this before. I love Milwaukee. But anytime, any headline, any news story, just literally anything that happens in the state of Wisconsin, and everybody in Milwaukee's why do y'all hate Milwaukee? The rest of the state hates Milwaukee. No, we don't. Oh my God. No, we don't. No, we don't. And also, this was not big Wisconsin who created this jersey. It was the Brewers. Take it up with the Brewers if you got an issue. Don't yell at someone in Eau Claire just because they like the baseball team. Yes. The jerseys are fine. Buy one or don't. It doesn't really matter. I would have waited until June, though. If the jersey's a whole warm weather, those long days at the cabin where time slows down. Well, then you got to wait until the days at the cabin where time slows down. Just wait a little bit. Don't roll them out in April when it's cold and dingy in that ballpark when the roof is closed. You know what I mean? 608-321-1670. One more call here, and then we'll take a break. I want to discuss the Packers' offensive line just a little bit. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Grant, hey, Tony from Texas.
Hey, Tony.
I gotta say, you know what I like out of Wisconsin are these ladies that do that podcast. You know, I'm talking about those three women, kind of cute. They start talking about, I don't know, restaurants or where should I go for brunch?
The Travel Wisconsin podcast. Is it the Cabin podcast? The Travel Wisconsin podcast?
Yeah. Do you know these women?
I see the clips. No, I don't know these women. You talk about like it's the only podcast that's hosted by three women in the world, Tony. That doesn't. I don't know them. No, I don't know anyone.
You know who I'm talking about.
I don't know everyone who hosts a podcast. I know of them. I see the clips. I don't know them personally.
I guarantee you rerun those episodes. But you know, I bring up the podcast and the women and all that stuff. Grant, I'm dating this nice lawyer down here in Texas, and she makes me this great gourmet meal. Okay. She goes, "Hey, honey, I got the game on for you. I got the Spurs game on." And she's got the game on, and it's freaking Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan. You can't find the games anymore. And I hate to sound like Chuck Freeman, but where are the games on, Grant? I don't know where they are.
So I believe last night it was on Amazon Prime, right?
Well, yeah, I figured that out after.
No, Tony, I had to look for it too. I'm not telling you that you're dumb for not being able to find it. I'm clarifying. It was on, I think, Amazon Prime last night. I hate it.
You're right.
Here's the other thing, Tony. This is what's annoying is game by game in a season. Like if I'm a Spurs fan, you're down there in Texas, the Lone Star State. If I'm told at the beginning of the series, this is an Amazon Prime series, all the games will be on Prime. That kind of makes it easy, right? Just like every Thursday night game is on Prime. The problem with these NBA playoff series is game 1 is on ESPN. Game 2's on Amazon. Game 3's on Peacock. So I can't get in a rhythm. I can't get locked in with my television options.
No, I'm with you, Grant. And, I'm watching these games. I'm like, okay, this is getting better. The basketball is getting better now, I think, like what this round of playoffs. But I don't know where to go. And I hate to sound like Chuck Freeman, but I just don't know where the game is. And it's very frustrating.
I think it's a privilege to sound like Chuck Freeman. Tony, I'm 28. I host a radio show. I got 4 computer monitors in front of me, probably 100 or so buttons. Like I'm tech savvy enough. I'm running a live stream here. I'm not a computer engineer, but I'm no dummy. I get home and I'm like, is it on Peacock? Over to Amazon? I must have missed it. Now back to Peacock. Like I feel you. I don't think you're a boomer. I don't think you're an idiot if you can't find these NBA games. It's a little bit of a pain.
Well, I feel bad for the woman. She invites me over and I get in a shitty. I almost swore there. A bad mood.
You didn't almost swear.
After you get.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Drop that. You just get in a bad mood when you don't find the game. You're like, I want to watch this game. And then you're like, oh, man.
So wait. So, before we go to break here, just let me clarify. You feel bad for the woman you're dating because she can't find the game for you, which puts you in a bad mood, and then you take it out on her.
Correct. Yes. Like a tough Packer loss. I'm not throwing any shoes at her or anything like that, but I mean, it's just kind of frustrating after, hardworking man like myself, coaching AAU basketball all night. I'm headed down to Austin. Don't want to confuse it like Tom Green did in the movie Road Trip. Remember that? He went to Boston.
Yeah, I do.
I'm headed down to Austin right now, which, by the way, I saw this on Barstool Sports. Austin, largest city without top 4 sports team, without any of the major 4s.
Really?
Austin, Texas. Yeah, that's the biggest city without a major 4 team.
Well, it'll get there because everybody my age is moving there. You gotta get down to Austin. It's new. There's concerts and arts and parks, and it's so walkable, and that whole thing.
It peaked in the 90s, Grant. It's not like everything in the world. It peaked in the 90s. It's not any good anymore. I digress. I feel for you. One day you'll buy a house, kids. It's tough out there. Anyway, Grant.
Wouldn't hold my breath. Thank you, Tony. It's been a while since we've had a good, proper Tony in Texas call, and I think this filled the bill.
I appreciate you, Grant, for this platform. And, I got some more Tony from Texas news next week. I'll let you, maybe I'll recap it on Friday for you.
Beautiful. Tony, I look forward to it. Have a great weekend.
All right. See you later.
Tony in Texas. I can't. Hold on. Let me clarify one more time. You feel bad for the woman that you're dating because you go to her house. She tries to put the game on, can't find it. You get mad and take it out on her. Tony, it would seem that somewhere between A, B, C, and D that you are in control. Yeah. Far be it from me, Tony, from telling you about your dating life. When we come back, I'll some comments from Adam Stenovich, some comments from Luke Butkus. I want to take a couple spitballs. I want to take an attempt at maybe what this Packers offensive line will look like, at least to start training camp. Who knows where it ends up, but I want to spitball of maybe how this offensive line would be best aligned. Would be best aligned. Yeah, let's put it there. We'll do that. Just a couple minutes. Be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
So Jordan Morgan's assumedly going to slide in and be the left tackle. Matthew Golden assumedly slides into the wide receiver 2 spot.
I think both of them are up to the task. I thought Jordan Morgan should have won the job coming out of training camp last summer. I didn't think there was any question there. With Matthew Golden, I thought we all saw it at camp. We saw how talented he was. Now, I understand, certainly talked to a couple people on both the coaching staff and the personnel side in the building who talked about, yeah, he was struggling with the playbook at times early in the season, which is expected. It's a rookie, right? I do think Jordan Morgan is an upgrade over Rasheed Walker, and I think Golden is clearly a more athletic player and has a way higher ceiling than Romeo Dobbs.
Aaron Nagler yesterday, 2 players that are going to have to step up big time, Jordan Morgan, Matthew Golden. I want to focus more on Jordan Morgan because I think the O-line is a much more interesting conversation this offseason. We'll get in training camp. We'll get our peepers on Matthew Golden. Then that'll become a little bit more of a topic. But this O-line, I'm trying to figure out who I believe in to play where. The more I sift through comments from coaches, media members, the more I believe in Jordan Morgan because the more I talk to media people and the more I go back and I remember what Brian Gutekunst already said. I think, as Nagler said, Jordan Morgan may have been the left tackle last year if he wasn't needed to play everywhere else because of injuries. And Goody said exactly that. I can give you the audio here, but just take my word for it. He said it. I want to give you a little bit from Adam Stenavich, a little bit from Luke Butkus, and then we'll take another call here. Just give me 2 or 3 minutes just to set this up. A big picture comment from Adam Stenavich and a big picture comment from Luke Butkus, both about how the offensive line can get better. Here's Adam Stenavich. How can the O-line get better from last year to this year?
I think our execution. I thought we were inconsistent with our execution for sure. And I just want to see us play with that physicality, that toughness that really defines who we are as Packer offensive linemen every game.
Execution, toughness, execute, making the plays. Here's Luke Butkus. How can the O-line get better?
Well, I think with offensive line play, right, it's about the fundamentals of blocking people. And to get better, the only way I know how to get better is go back to fundamentals. Your technique, right? Pad level, right? Talking about playing with leverage. When you were a kid playing football, right? What did the coach say to the offensive lineman? That he might not have never played the offensive line position. Same guy that talked about Larry McCarron. What did they say? The low man wins, playing with leverage. Your pads under the defender's pads, your hands inside the defender's hands, and that gives you a chance. And then there's a million other things that we got to talk about, but just going back to the fundamentals of the position. And that's what's so cool about phase 2. We're out there and we get a lot of individual time as an O-line. So just working the fundamentals of playing football and blocking defenders.
So listening to both Butkus and Stenavich, you know what I hear? The guys who are out there need to make the plays that are there to be made. When Adam Stenavich said, how can this O-line get better? He didn't say, well, we're going to have, certain guys sliding into different positions. We're going to be making upgrades. He didn't say that. He said, execution. The guys need to execute. The guys who are out there need to play better. I'm hearing that from Adam Stenavich and Luke Butkus saying last year that the guys were put in position, even if they were playing a little out of position, literally, the plays were there to be made. The guys didn't execute. They didn't make the plays. Here's Adam Stenavich, Luke Butkus on Anthony Belton. We're going to listen to this. I'll give you a takeaway, and then we'll take a call.
I mean, the same thing you could say for Anthony Belton as Jordan Morgan. Not to compare the guys, but guys that are team-first guys. Anthony Belton was a tackle at North Carolina State, had an opportunity to play some tackle for us, and then moved in at guard and competed. Is there a lot to clean up? Absolutely. He'll be the first one to tell you that. But to get that experience of playing in the National Football League, right? At guard, they're on you a little bit faster. Tackle, there's a little bit more space. So just the little details of that position, but the fundamentals of blocking, they stay the same. So just again, it's invaluable that he had some experience to play football last year.
So playing at guard, playing at reps. And this is what Adam Stenavich said about Belton. And I think this is indicative.
Last year, he was a tackle, and we were just having him play swing tackle, focus on that. And then all of a sudden, we lost a bunch of guys, and it's like, hey, bud, you got to go in and play guard. And when he went out there against Detroit and played, that was really the first week he'd ever played guard for us. So credit to him for going out there and doing it and playing pretty well. But I think now just focusing on the little fundamentals, the little details, we can teach him all that stuff from a guard's perspective. I think that'll be really good for him.
So I know Anthony Belton was a right guard last year, and that's where everyone's slotting him in to begin this year. I think Belton's a tackle, and I think they need a tackle. They need a tackle who can basically slide into the role that Jordan Morgan occupied last year. Swing tackle who can play guard in a pinch. But Belton can't do that if he's the starting right guard. I said this earlier this week. It is my hope, and I bet that in Green Bay, behind closed doors, they're thinking, you know what? If Jagger Burton can come in and be a center right away and play, that allows us to put Sean Ryan at right guard, which allows us to make Anthony Belton a swing tackle or reserve. I think that's better for everyone involved. Just my 2 cents. They lack a swing tackle. If Jordan Morgan goes down or Zach Tom goes down, I don't want their first response and reaction to be, we'll just move Morgan over, move Tom up. No, I don't. We had enough of that last year. I think Belton as a swing tackle or even an emergency backup guard intrigues me a lot more than him starting at right guard, which is never his natural position. It's what they weren't training him to do that last year. It's not how they drafted him. 608-321-1670. Thank you for waiting. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
I think after 3 weeks, the stench is gone from that stupid week that you do every year.
Rico and La Crosse. I know you hate Neil Diamond week, so you just had to let it. Yeah. You had to let it clear out for a couple weeks. I get that.
I had to let the stink go away. So first of all, I was going to call today for a different reason, but I'm going to start with Tony in Texas. Tony, okay. I like that. I really do. I like about half of his phone calls. The other half are like, really, Tony?
It's
really?
It's not the highest batting average when you say you like him. A 50-50. That's all
right.
No,
I mean, okay, all right, 55-45. Okay. Anyhow, first of all, let's talk about those vacuous, absolutely handmaiden tale Stepford wives women on that podcast. They are the most unrealistic Wisconsinite women that have a podcast talking about traveling Wisconsin that has ever been created. Absolutely, positively, they suck.
Just bad takes? Or is it personal?
Oh my God, absolutely. They are, I mean, nothing personal. It is, they are just like these just vacuous upper middle class Han Solo outfits in the fall with latte, pumpkin spice lattes drinking skurs that just are awful for promoting the state.
You're kind of cooking. Okay. Can you give me an example? Does an example come to mind?
Oh my God. The restaurants they pick, the bars they say you want to go to. It's like everybody, it's like what? You got to make $170,000, $200,000 to go to every one of the places you pick. All right. That's not the reason I called. Okay. Second of all, real quick, let's quit talking so much about the Packers before my birthday, which is in 2 days. And I'm not asking for a happy birthday. I'm just saying
happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Shut up. Anyhow, let's talk about baseball. Okay?
Go ahead.
Let's talk about baseball. First of all, the Brewers are 5.5 out, but they're over 500 and in the hottest team in baseball. All right. They just got back all of their the two of their parts that they desperately needed to be a better team, and they came out swinging. Did they not?
They did.
And three. And also, let's see. That's the other thing I was going to talk about. Sproat. You went off on Sproat the other day. Let's talk about Corbin Burns. The first 3 years he pitched for the Brewers, they kept sending him back to AAA.
No. I didn't go off on Sproat. I'm monitoring the situation. At some point, I got to think that he's going to pitch more than 3 and change or 4 innings, right? That's not going off. We need to start seeing some growth where half a dozen starts in. I'm not saying he needs to be an ace. It's reasonable, right?
Yeah, it's still early in the season, and he just brought him up from AAA. And the other thing, now there's polls out there that say that your beloved NBA is now third favorite sport in America after the NFL and Major League Baseball. Thank you very much. Cherry on the Sunday. I got to go. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good birthday. Rico and lacrosse. Those were two. That might be my favorite Rico call ever, and my favorite Tony and Texas call in a while. Rico Barrar. Happy birthday. I think basketball's behind baseball right now. Mm-hmm. My beloved NBA. We've talked less NBA. I'm a part of that. I am but a vessel for the exact point that you just made, Rico. How we've talked way less NBA on the show this year. Part of that is the Bucks, but part of it is like, there's just not a lot of there. And baseball's having a great couple of years. So I'm with you. I'm not going to my precious NBA. I am like an elected representative. I talk about for the most part. I tried to talk about what you guys want to talk about because that should be my job, right? And we've talked less basketball than ever before. Now, funny you mentioned that. We're going to talk NBA at the top of the hour because there's some good Bucks headlines. Justin Garcia is going to be here. When we come back, a little potpourri, a couple different things I want to hit on in the final segment of the hour before we get our update and before we get to Justin Garcia. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
The New England Patriots have a character and integrity problem from the top to the bottom. Vrabel, I believe, likes to talk about character and integrity and all that kind of stuff.
He does.
With his team.
I think he reads Bible passages before games.
There's a couple things I really detest. I don't hate anyone. I really, really strongly dislike liars and hypocrites. And this is just it in spades.
Many experts after the fact, the Aaron Hernandez situation in New England, many experts have said that the worst part of that whole situation was the hypocrisy, and I disagreed. I thought it was the murdering. I found the murdering to be much worse than the hypocrisy. In my experience, it's true that most murderers are also hypocrites.
It could be liars too.
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't find a lot of murderers where it's like, I love murdering and I don't care who knows it. People say, well, at least he's not being a hypocrite. It's from the morning show this morning, Over the Line. Some Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini commentary. The hypocrisy is the worst part of what's going on with the Patriots. Mike Vrabel. It's a reference that some of you will get. On the subject of Boston, I want to do a minute or two here to set up our upcoming conversation with Justin Garcia. I do want to get into the Bucks. I'm not someone who's forced Bucks talk into the show this year, either on this show or on Bill's show. You know, we have Jim Ozarski once a week, and if there's a crazy result or a story one way or the other, if there's a Giannis headline or a Giannis rumor, we'll address it. But for the most part, I haven't forced Bucks talk in. And this week, filling in for Bill and doing this show, I've found that I do a little bit on the Bucks. And all right, let's go back to the Brewers. And we were talking to the Brewers, and the texts and the call would still come in. I want to talk about the Bucks. It's a big week with a new coach and the owner and the general manager speaking. I also think, folks, there's some real buzz to the Celtics being interested. And I think that interest has been there. If you read Boston people or listen to Boston people, that interest has been there for a while. The Celtics have fancied Giannis from afar. This is Brad Stevens in their end-of-season presser the other day, talking about some of their shortcomings. And if you read between the lines here, it's not hard to make the case that they would be really interested in aggressively pursuing Giannis this summer if he agrees to not sign an extension or if he doesn't want to stick around in Milwaukee.
My general feeling watching us play in really each of the last two playoffs, in the second round against New York, even against Orlando in the first round, was we had a hard time generating really good looks on that first shot. So we got to figure out a way to do better in that. And I think that's, again, I think that one of the things that we've got to figure out is how to have more of an impact at the rim. And I think we do need to add to our team to do that.
So just those last 5 or 10 seconds,
we've got to figure out is how to have more of an impact at the rim. And I think we do need to add to our team to do that.
More of an impact at the rim, and we need to add to our team to do that. I think there's real juice between Giannis and the Celtics, and I think there's some real juice. We got another report today from some Boston folks that the Celtics are going to gauge Jaylen Brown's value around the league. This is nothing new. He's been on the trade block seemingly every offseason for every player, going back to when Jimmy Butler was available, when Kawhi Leonard was available, when Kevin Durant was available. It was always Jaylen Brown, who was the name that was bandied about, and I think that's part of the reason he's probably sick of it there. He's like, I got a taste of being the number one this year. I really liked it. I would like to go do that somewhere else. I actually think he'd be a good fit with the Bucks. I think socially his personality would fit a smaller market team where he could kind of be the plucky underdog leader. I think it would fit. Now the Bucks might decide, well, we don't want that. We would just rather have as many picks as possible. Maybe get our pick back in a trade, maybe a 3-team deal with Atlanta so we could tank and really build it up properly. But if they wanted a player in return for Giannis, you could do a lot worse than Jaylen Brown. He's not a perfect player, and he's a little bit of a woo, a little bit. But most NBA superstars are. So it doesn't exactly start and begin with Jaylen Brown. We'll discuss this and some other NBA playoff story headlines. And Justin Garcia joining us next. He is also our jam band consultant, a big deadhead in himself. And it is 5/8. It's the anniversary of Cornell, so it's a good day to have Justin on. We'll come back in 2 minutes right after Zach's update. No commercials. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Talk some Bucks and some NBA with our friend Justin Garcia.
If I had a gun for a shot through.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Brandon McManus' time as the Packers kicker is over. In the wake of drafting Trace Mack out of Florida last month, the team released McManus today. Veteran went 44 for 51 over the last 2 regular seasons, but struggled in each of the team's playoff losses, going 1 for 4 on field goals and missing an extra point. Green Bay traded up for Smack, and while GM Brian Gutekunst said they wouldn't hand him the job, the cutting McManus shows what the team thinks of that room.
In some ways, we've always had a little bit of an advantage because, we don't have an owner and we're not trying to prove something to an owner. We can just kind of let the best players win the job. That's kind of how we'll approach it. We got some talented guys in that room. We're going to have to figure that out. But I did think it was important to add competition to that. Certainly, we thought he was the best kicker in this draft.
Packers are in the middle of their offseason program. Phase 3 gets going here in a couple of weeks with the start of OTAs. Turn to the Brewers. After a day off, they're going to be back in action tonight as they open a series against the Yankees at American Family Field. Milwaukee will send Jacob Mizorowski to the mound. He comes in 2-2 with a 2.84 ERA. The Yankees kind of with Max Fried. He's 4-1 with a 2.39 ERA. First pitch is set for 6:40.
Everyone should feel confident about their path forward. Exact Sciences is now Abbott, and together they will transform the way cancer is detected, diagnosed, and managed for more people around the world. They continue to help patients and healthcare providers make timely, informed decisions before, during, and after a cancer diagnosis by partnering with the industry's best minds and top institutions to transform how to approach cancer. Known for the Cologuard and Oncotype DX tests, allow Abbott to help make a positive impact in your health path forward. Learn more at abbott.com.
Well, Wisconsin football season opener at Lambeau Field going to come under the lights. Team announced the matchup with Notre Dame on September 6th. Will kick at 6:30 on NBC. Fighting Irish expected to start in the top 10 in the country, and an early point spread has them as 18.5-point favorites. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
All right, now we're going to play everybody's favorite fun game, Move Back. Now, when I tell you take a step back, everybody take a step back, right? Right. Okay, take a step back. And take another step back. And take yet another step back. And another. Take a step back. Doesn't everybody feel better? What do you mean, no?
See, all these people in front are getting horribly smashed here. So that means all you people in the back have to move back.
Or feel
Just
real
move back
guilty.
some.
Then all your friends up front won't be real bug-eyed.
We used to be a proper country. Maybe the best part of the whole show. Happy May 8th. 5877 Cornell. One of the best concerts of all time. You deadheads, those who celebrate. Great opportunity to bring in our resident deadhead, our jam band correspondent. And you know what? He does a heck of a job talking basketball, too. Not to mention he hails from the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse. Have I properly established his credentials? I think so. Justin Garcia, the Bucks Radio Network, does Locked On Bucks as well. Justin, happy May 8th. It's nice to see you. I have quite the night ahead of me planned. I'm driving to Viroqua this evening for Bill's golf outing. I think I just listen to this on the drive there. As I head westward, driving over through Baraboo, through the hills. I think it's going to be pretty. I think that might be my night.
The golf outing is tomorrow?
Yes, correct. Viroqua Hills. Did you not hear about it? It's been a big to-do.
I was going to say, I guess my invite was lost in the backlog of the Strait of Hormuz. I would chalk it up to, I suppose.
Do you golf?
Not as much as I used to as a youth, quite a bit, and then I've just lost time. But I've gotten back into it the last couple years.
Does it feel like there is some real Giannis Celtics buzz?
Ripping the Band-Aid off.
Or better asked, do you think it's real? Because it certainly feels like there's buzz. But you can sniff out the BS from what's real. You know this league and the people who operate and cover it. Is this real? It feels very real to me.
I guess. Well, I think there's a forced realness to it. There's definitely my bigger takeaway was just that when you go back to Brad Stevens' press conference from a week ago, and he talked about, he was very curt in what they did not accomplish, and contrary to Jaylen Brown, who said it was the most fun he had 2 years after winning a championship, Brad Stevens did not, surprise, surprise, feel the same way. But when he mentioned like everything they needed to do better and what they were missing out on, you just sat there and listened like, oh, Giannis does that. Giannis does that.
Right before I brought you on, I played the cut. We need to attack the rim, put more pressure on the rim, and we need to add to the team to do that. I just played that.
In that sense, sure. But famous last words here, but where I don't really think there's any momentum there is, it just feels like that would be a 3-team deal, because the Bucks, if you're going to trade Giannis, Jaylen Brown isn't what you're taking back.
He's pretty good, though.
Yeah, sure, he's pretty good, but
want
if you're going to do that, yeah, you want picks, you want young players. Jaylen Brown is already getting the same contract basically as Giannis, and he's due for an extension this summer already. You're not looking to acquire him and then like, well, part of it was we got to rebuild and we didn't want to pay this money to Giannis, but let's pay it to Jaylen Brown, who is an inferior player to Giannis.
And it's not way younger. He's 29, right? It's not like he's 24.
It's not like he's massively younger. So, yeah, in that sense, it doesn't make sense to me. It would have to be a 3-team deal. And then the other part of it is if it's a 3-team deal and if like everybody wants to run with what was it, Bill Simmons that first brought it up with the 3 teams. What about the Hawks and the Bucks and the Celtics? Surprise, surprise, he mentioned the Celtics in a trade. But I mean, that one is just if I'm the Hawks, so wait a minute, I have to pay out this much to get Jaylen Brown. Like, if I'm going to do that, why don't I just pay out to bring Giannis in here since the contract is the same?
Sure. Oh, so it would be that from Atlanta's perspective, it would be the same kind of hiccup you'd have as Milwaukee. Like if I'm paying all this
I mean,
money,
whoever the third team would be, if like, well, if this is what it costs for Jay, like, why don't we just take Giannis instead?
I'll just pay that freight. Just kind of as a fun aside, like I do think Jaylen Brown, forget the money, I think from a personality standpoint, like he would fit Milwaukee. I think his vibe.
You do?
I do. He's kind of this plucky underdog. He would get to lead us. You don't think socially he would fit in Milwaukee?
No, I do not.
Interesting. And we see it very differently, I guess. He gets to be the guy, lead the charge, a city that no one believes in. Seems like that's kind of his ethos.
Yeah, I don't know that it's kind of the same thing of everybody's fear of if there is any validity to any Celtics buzz of like I think by and large people are they're starting to accept, look, we maybe threw a lot of stones and said this is fake and this is aggregated, but now you're starting to realize, no, I guess it wasn't all along. So we've come to terms with that. We still love Giannis. So I am still going to root for you to do well. But if it happens there, well, then that's a different conversation we have to have. I think the same logic applies to Jaylen Brown, where there's a lot of Bucks fans that are just, I don't want to vote. I don't want to root for Jaylen Brown on my team.
What do you, again, just we're having fun here. You know, we're just kicking stuff around. What is the ceiling of a Celtics team? Let's just say they swap Jaylen Brown for Giannis. It's the same Celtics team. Yeah. What's the ceiling of that team? Do you think Giannis has just had a bad run of luck and he's healthy and it works? Because I don't know that it works. I don't know that Giannis is still that guy and that he can still stay healthy and that he can fit and like, well, he'll come here and he'll adapt to Tatum. And I don't know. I'm not worried that he's going to go there and win 4 or 5 championships. Put it that way.
No, and yeah, and I mean,
or even 1, honestly.
Well, and that's the thing is the reality is if that's where we head, that there's a trade here. The reality is, even though the optics are going to dictate otherwise, the Bucks are probably going to win the trade because more often than not, you don't win a championship. You don't find that success with the next team because for a variety of reasons, right? But like you're trading a guy who's going to be 32 in December and who I don't necessarily know that it's habitual and you're going to have to plan out it every year. But for the last 4 years, there have been injuries that have had an impact of his game. It has to frighten you at least a little bit that the mid-range shot that was there a couple of years ago has vanished all of a sudden. He's never been a good free throw shooter. So there's those aspects to the game that you cannot help but question, how is this going to age, right? Like I understand you can get in the paint and finish at the rim now. Can you do that consistently when you're 34 and 35 and 36? So 37. For all of those reasons and the fact that we just look at every other instance of these trades. I mean, we saw it 2 years ago in our own backyard here where you traded for Dame, didn't work out, and it also wasn't Giannis's fault. It was Dame's fault in the eyes of many Bucks fans. It doesn't tend to work out when you make those trades. So in that sense, that's why I say the reality is the Bucks are very likely to win the trade, if there is a trade that takes place, even if you look at it and you say, I'll just throw numbers out, for example, here, like, oh, they only got 2 or 3 first-round picks, and they got this player that isn't even an all-star, and this guy, like, wow, they got fleeced, but it's probably not going to prove to be the case.
I like how you said the optics will dictate otherwise, because I think a lot of people will say, well, you're just not going to win that trade. You're not going to win a trade for a player like that. But at this age, I think you might. Not to do this to you. This is unfair. This is the classic Rusilla. Like, I didn't know we were doing this today. Can you think of an example where a player at this age has been traded because they want to compete for a title and they can't do it anyway, and then they actually competed for the title? Because nothing comes to mind.
There's the only one that comes to mind, and let's see, how old was he when this trade happened? I guess Clyde Drexler, but even then, Clyde wasn't the guy that he was, and Clyde was never Giannis level, but Clyde was a beloved figure in Portland. I don't think he was an all-star anymore at that point in his career, and he was clearly entering Akeem Olajuwon's team, and the Rockets had already won a championship the year prior to that, but that's the only other one that comes to mind of a guy, because I think Clyde was 32 when that trade happened too, and they won the title that season.
So it happens with younger players like Donovan Mitchell comes to mind. And I know he hasn't won a title, but Donovan Mitchell's a little different. It had kind of run its course in Utah, or so everyone felt. They were ready to rebuild. He wasn't ready to rebuild, so they ship it. But he was, I mean, how old was he when he got dealt to Cleveland? He was 8 years younger than Giannis would be now?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, significantly younger, and he hasn't won a title. So I think you make a good point. So bringing it back to the Bucks, when Bucks fans were like, well, I was ready to trade Giannis, but not there. Like, I'm almost to the point where, like, if that's where you get the best package,
right,
go nuts. Because I don't think he's winning. Like, it doesn't make me happy. I'm not going to cheer against him necessarily. But for the same reasons I'm ready to move on, I'm kind of okay with him going anywhere, because I don't think it's going to work. I don't think he's just going to fit in seamlessly with Tatum, and he's going to be healthy all of a sudden, and, sunshine and daffodils, and they win,
well, and I mean, like, the biggest thing too is, I'm not going to pretend to have any insight into how Giannis feels. None of us do.
Oh, come on.
But I mean, and I don't even mean this in a bad way. There's definitely ego there, and there is with every player that gets to that level. That, do you want to, at this point where you feel like, I'm still in the prime of my career, I feel like the last couple of years have been wasted with injuries and other things that were going on, are you ready to say, okay, I'm prepared now to fully give myself up, take a back seat, I'm here for the ride just for a chance to win a championship? Because I still have a hard time seeing that. And that's what complicates things. Like, whenever anyone would kick around like, whoa, what about San Antonio? Like, San Antonio was Victor Wembanyama's team, and all the chatter after Denver flamed out, which, not to take a victory lap here, but we told you for months, Denver fans, like, we are your future, right? What has happened to the Bucks? That is what you were looking at. So you better get it now, because all these things, oh boy, I remember having these same conversations and saying the same things the last 2 or 3 years of, well, it's just because Jamal Murray got hurt. Like, Czech said the same thing with Chris Middleton, and it was injuries, and this happened in the playoffs. Like, said that in 2022, 2023. Like, it comes at you fast, and windows are very brief. And I think Denver's has ended, and all the talk now of, whoa, they got to go do something drastic. What if they teamed up Giannis and Jokic? That's Nikola Jokic's team. And same with Boston. Jason Tatum won a championship there. I mean, there's no disputing Giannis is a better player, but that's still a clunky fit in terms of who is the guy and who's stepping on who here. What's even more fascinating is, like, all these teams that have come up throughout the season, and, that we've seen the reporting have really pushed for him. I mean, I don't know what to expect now, because there's a really good chance the New York Knicks are winning the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Timberwolves, like, I have not been impressed by the Oklahoma City Thunder so far in this playoffs. And I know J-Dub hasn't played in this series, but what if Minnesota just grinds this thing out and we get a Timberwolves Knicks finals? Like, these teams that were kicking the tires on Giannis, and sure, you could say, well, they reached the finals and lost. Could that be the impetus? Sure, but it could also be, well, we don't need to do something quite that drastic. We just need to do this or this because we already got there without him.
Justin Garcia is here, the Bucks Radio Network. It feels like the Thunder are going to win. It feels to me like the Thunder are going to win the West. And I hate him, man. I hate him. Shea just, the foul baiting. And also, this is an old man take. I'll die on this hill. I am of the opinion that if you're injured and you're missing a game, you're sitting on the bench, you're wearing team-issued sweats. I don't need what we've seen from Jalen Williams with the star sticker on his face. Like that. That's what I want to see. The Thunder are just, I don't like them. And also, Ryan Russillo, I saw a clip of him talking about this, and I actually kind of agree. It would be pretty interesting or funny if the Thunder won a really good lottery pick, and then everyone throws a big tantrum like, well, we need to do something. We can't allow this to happen. Like, the Thunder are just full of these interesting possibilities where this little old team from Oklahoma City, all of a sudden they're the team everybody hates and is pulling against, like me.
Yeah, I think I'm there too, and I don't think I'm there. I know I'm there. It's not. Yeah, I get it. The defense is great. Everybody fouls defensively, so it's not even like, whoa, well, they get to maul you defensively. Sure, a lot of teams do that. They're just not fun to watch, and the grifting and the foul baiting, and it's the same with the Jaylen Brown argument of when that is your go-to of like, well, Embiid flops and. Like, okay, so now we're doing this thing too. It's just not enjoyable to watch. Now they are gonna go through some changes here, but even if they get that a top 3 pick in this lottery, which is absurd, they're still gonna have to sell off some pieces, if not this summer, next summer. But yeah, I mean think about that too. It's what the Clippers are probably the most interesting team in the lottery on Sunday because they have both ends of the spectrum. They could lose their pick to the Thunder, or they will, but it could be a great pick that they're giving up to the Thunder. And they could also get the number 5 pick in the draft that they're looking to see what happens with Indiana there. That's a team that is like, well, yeah, we know this is going out, but hopefully this part is better here. And that's kind of like how Bucks fans are probably watching it, where the number one thing you don't want to see is we get the numbers peeling off the board one by one, and you see 10. Oh, it's not the Bucks. 9 isn't the Bucks. Like, wow, they're going to do this. And then all of a sudden you see with the 7th pick, and I don't know if this is even possible for them, but with the 7th pick, it's the Pelicans. And then it sinks in of like, oh no, that means the Bucks are in the top 4 and they're giving up that pick.
Justin Garcia is here. One final thought. It is May 8th, so we're talking about Cornell 77. Is there a song on this album that is your quintessential version of that song? Meaning, if I'm listening to this song, my first instinct is to listen to the version off of this album. Does that question make sense to you?
Yeah, maybe Deal. Because that was like one of the first versions of it that I remember really liking. So I guess I'd probably say that.
I forget Jack Straw's on here. I think my answer is Scarlet. And yes. I think yes. My answer is Scarlet. It might be my second favorite Brown Eyed Women might be on there. I think the Dick's Picks, the Dane County Coliseum version, I think takes.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It's great. It's excellent. Enjoy your listening. I know that's probably what you're doing tonight. I'm going to head west for Bill's golf outing and listen on my way, and I will think of you the entire way. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate the time.
Anytime. See you.
Justin Garcia, the Bucks Radio Network. Justin Jack Straw Garcia. Love that guy. The Celtics Bucks thing I find very interesting. I know they're a rival. I couldn't bear to see Giannis playing for the Celtics. Yeah, I wouldn't like to see it either, but here's the thing. For the same reason that I'm kind of ready for the Bucks to trade Giannis, I'm kind of indifferent on where he goes because I don't think it's going to work. I don't think he'll be healthy. I don't think he'll fit. You know what I mean? Like all of those things. But Bucks fans, you got to love hearing that when Justin says, look, just based on the age of everyone involved and the assets that are going to be changing hands, the Bucks are going to win this trade, even though it won't feel like it. And even though the optics won't make it seem that way, just kind of the nature of Giannis's age, the Bucks are going to win this trade. I like hearing that. I'm a big fan of that. Let's take a break. 3 minutes. If you have any thoughts on what we just discussed with Justin, you want to jump in and talk Bucks, I'll have you. Maybe we'll do a short segment here. I'll give you a couple follow-up thoughts, and then we can circle back to the Brewers and the Packers for the last half hour of the show. But more of your phone calls on the other side on 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Is Jaylen Brown the most enticing potential trade asset coming back?
I think it's relevant that as soon as Brad Stevens commented on it, had to comment on it, Jaylen made a beeline back to Twitch to clarify. He didn't wait for a podcast interview in mid-June. He didn't wait for some fan that catches him on IG Live in a week and a half. He immediately went back to the camera and said, "Oh, by the way, I want to be a Celtic." So take that for what it's worth.
I understand a guy being emotional after losing Game 7, blowing that 3-1 lead. I think he's taken way too much for, hey, this is my favorite season.
Milwaukee doesn't control their pick for the next few years. I don't remember if it's 3 or 4. And you also know that there's anti-tanking rules coming in. It's not going to be prudent in the next couple of years to tank anyway. So the Bucks are highly incentivized not to be bad. So if you're going to, if the rules are the rules and you decide you're going to trade, and it's still an if, because I'm not ruling out that Giannis doesn't sign that extension. It's a ton of money. But if they do, they're going to have to make a deal that requires player or players that help them today, now.
Brian Windhorst, Ryan Russillo. I disagree with Russillo that Jaylen Brown has taken too much backlash for saying it was his favorite season. It's kind of insane. I guess I get spiritually where he's coming from. He's saying, look, I got to handle the ball. I got to be the number one. We were the 2 seed. Feels like we overachieved. I always think it's more fun to overachieve than to simply meet expectations in sports, right? In life, I suppose we could, have a discussion about that. But just strictly speaking in sports, I think it's more fun to have expectations that are low or middling and to have those expectations exceeded. That's fun. If you expect your team to win 90 games and they win 90 games, it's not as thrilling as if you're not quite sure, is our team going to be any good? And then they win 97. That was the Brewers last year. Wasn't that a blast? That was fun, right? It's great. So I understand Jaylen Brown thinking that last year, believing that last year is his favorite year. You can't say it. You can't communicate it, because then that means I enjoyed playing basketball without my teammates. I enjoyed playing basketball in a series where we blew a 3-1 lead, right? I do wonder, and again, I played you that Brad Stevens soundbite where he's like, we need to put more pressure on the rim, and in order to do that, we're going to have to make an external addition to our team. The Boston-Milwaukee stuff seems really legit. I just don't know. I mean, does Boston even have the picks? I don't know that Milwaukee just wants to take Jaylen Brown in return, even if it's like Jaylen Brown in a first. I think then the Bucks would probably want to flip Jaylen Brown because he's making as much money and is not as good as Giannis, as Justin shared. Okay, we'll flip him to the Hawks, do a 3-team deal. Okay, but if the Hawks are willing to give all that up for Jaylen Brown, why wouldn't the Hawks just want to give all that up for Giannis? I understand that completely. That's a great point that Justin made. Here's Brad Stevens, the president, basketball ops, the GM for the Celtics, one more time.
My general feeling watching us play in really each of the last 2 playoffs, in the second round against New York, even against Orlando in the first round, was we had a hard time generating really good looks on that first shot. So we got to figure out a way to do better in that. And I think that's, again, I think that one of the things that figure out is how to have more of an impact at the rim. And I think we do need to add to our team to do that.
I don't think it's going to work. I don't think whatever team acquires Giannis, I don't think it'll work. I don't think he goes to Boston. Let's just say Jaylen Brown for Giannis, straight up, just for the sake of the segment. I don't think Giannis and Jason Tatum set the world on fire and win a championship, let alone multiple championships. Because I don't think that ever happens. I don't think the superstar trending the wrong way in their early 30s changing teams ever goes somewhere and succeeds. And I asked that to Justin. It's like, okay, well, let's just think. When in NBA history has a 32-year-old superstar reached the end of the road with their current team saying, I want to contend, and then they're traded and they go somewhere else? Now, he mentioned Clyde Drexler, who goes from Portland to, but that was Hakeem's team, the Rockets. It's not really the same, right? And we got a text here from the 608 says, well, Ray Allen from Boston to Miami is in the discussion. Ray Allen changed teams late in his career, and I looked it up. He was 37. He wasn't traded, and he was probably the 4th best player, the 5th best player on that team. Ray Allen was basically a way overqualified version of Peyton Pritchard, who Peyton Pritchard is now, right, to the Celtics. He was 37, and he wasn't traded. I think he was released or left in free agency. He wasn't traded. He was either waived or cut loose, or I don't know. I don't remember exactly. So, yeah, Ray Allen changed teams late in his career and went on to win a championship, but that's not what we're talking about. The Heat didn't give up Dwayne Wade and a bunch of picks and a role player expecting Ray Allen to come in and be the second best player. He was an older player who changed teams, won a championship, and he hit a big shot, he had a huge shot in that championship against the Spurs. It's one of the most iconic moments this century in the NBA. But he wasn't the second or third best player, certainly not the first best player. And if Giannis goes to the Celtics, you could argue, who's better, him or Jason Tatum. It just doesn't happen. But, on sports talk television and sports talk radio, we talk about players like Giannis. It's like, well, he can't win in Milwaukee anywhere. He needs to go somewhere else to win. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't really happen. Unless he goes somewhere and accepts the role of a lesser role of a glorified role player, but I don't think Giannis is going to do that. Giannis has gotten, it feels wrong to say ego. No, it's not wrong. He has an ego. But I say that acknowledging that every star player in the NBA has an ego. They want to play their way, and they want their touches, and they want their shots. I don't think Giannis is going to come in and be some, version of Aaron Gordon, where I'm just going to set screens for a guy and run at the rim and accept passes and lobs. Like, I think he wants to handle the ball and break down a defender and have screens set for him, which was the opposite of the way they played when they won the title. In 2021, I remember Zach Lowe chronicling it when he was writing at ESPN every step of the way. It's like Giannis is setting more screens. It really started to pick up in that Nets series. He started being the screen setter for Chris Middleton instead of the other way. Now, I know people have pointed out, well, the last time Giannis really meshed with another player, it was with Chris Middleton, and Tatum and Middleton are maybe similar in size and play style. I also don't know that this version of Giannis and this version of Jason Tatum are going to be able to accept those roles, which I think, would be a lesser role for both of them. The Celtics are Jason Tatum's team, and Giannis is an MVP, for God's sake. So he's supposed to go there and set screens for Jason Tatum. I don't see it happening. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Goose Eggs on the live stream says, what about Drew Holiday? Drew Holiday was like the third best player, though. He wasn't leading. He was an additional piece. Giannis is not the additional piece. Giannis is the piece. And it's not going to work. I feel confident now that whatever team feels that it's time, we're going to throw a mountain of picks at Giannis and bring him in. It's not going to work for him because Giannis can't stay healthy, and he's going to want to handle the ball, and it's not going to fit, and all these things. The mid-range is kind of regressed. Can't trust him in big moments with the free throws. And those are all the reasons that at this age, I'm fine with the Bucks moving off of him. Those are all the same reasons that I'm pretty darn sure it's not going to work wherever he goes next. Take your calls on this, and we can get back to the Packers. Just a couple minutes, have a baseball story or two I want to discuss. 608-321-1670. More of the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Bruce Levine is reporting that according to industry sources, the Cubs are one of the teams the Mets have talked to about acquiring right-handed pitcher Freddie Peralta.
Okay.
June 1st is a target time for the Mets to either get back into the race or move the soon-to-be free agent. Peralta and Craig Counsell share a mutual bond. That would be a game changer.
Absolutely. I was back on the field last year and I saw Peralta pitch a couple times, and he was right there in the Cy Young race a year ago. Good stuff. I'm still watching him early in this Mets season, so far for their expectations have been a disaster.
Yeah.
But Peralta hasn't pitched his best. But I'll tell you, if you look at his numbers, he's still getting it done, not at his best. So yes, I think him coming over to the Cubs, that would be a game changer for you guys. But once again, it's speculation. It's so early. We'll figure, this will figure itself out as time goes on.
670 The Score. I believe that was Rahimi and Harris, the name of the show, with one of their many engaging guests. They have such a outstanding elite list of guests they bring on that station. I guess I could scroll back and find who it is. It was a guest. It was a former pitcher. It was Brett Boone, dad to 4 great kids, 3rd generation MLB player, Texas Ranger, Brett Boone podcast. Okay, that's who that final voice was. And the report from Bruce Levine saying, yeah, the Cubs are in on Freddie Peralta. If, the Mets decide to sell Freddie Peralta. And remember, of course, Freddie Peralta, this is the last year of his deal. So the Mets acquired Freddie Peralta for Sproat and Jet Williams. Was that it? Was there another player? I think it was just Sproat and Jet Williams. And when that happened, I assumed, and I think everybody else did, well, the Mets will just pay him because they can. So it doesn't really matter that the Mets had to give up a couple of prospects for him because they're the Mets and they have the money to extend to the guy. They're not just renting Freddie Peralta. But now, I don't know, the Mets suck and their roster seems really far away. Do they want to pay Freddie Peralta? Now, the embarrassing part for David Stearns would be he would have to turn around and flip Freddie Peralta, who assumedly has less value now than he did in the offseason because you're only getting him for half a season or 2/3 of a season or whatever. Now, you make the case if there's a big market for him, maybe a larger market than there was in the offseason, more desperate teams with injuries. The Cubs are really, really needy at pitcher right now because they have so many injuries. Maybe the Cubs and the Dodgers get in a bidding war, and maybe, I don't know. But it would stand to reason it would be my bet at this moment in time, at this hour on May 8th, that David Stearns is not going to come out ahead in his acquisition and subsequent trade of Freddie Peralta, I would assume. So it's a bad look for him. So maybe David Stearns doesn't want to do that. I want to cope here. And I want to say, well, I hope the Cubs trade for Freddie Peralta. Because I know Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta is not a real ace. So I hope they give up a haul to get Freddie Peralta. I mean, if they acquire Freddie Peralta, I hope they give up a haul. Like David Stearns, buddy, I know you got one more in you before you get fired. Can you make one good trade? Can you get the Cubs' best prospects? Can you really gut them good? You're going to trade Freddie Peralta to Chicago. I would love to cope and make myself feel better by saying, well, the Cubs, they could acquire Freddie Peralta, but he's not a real ace. He's not a true ace. They'll be disappointed. The annoying thing is the Cubs really don't need a true ace. They just need a guy who's going to take the ball once every 5 days and be good. And he can do that. Like Matt Boyd needed meniscus surgery because he bent over to play with his kids. You know, Justin Steele had a setback. Cade Horton had Tommy John. The Cubs do not have an already very solid rotation, and they're looking to add a stud. They're not looking to add their CC Sabathia. They need realistically what the Brewers once got out of like Drew Pomerantz or Jordan Lyles. Freddie Peralta can do that. And then some. So again, I would love to cope by saying, well, the Cubs, they can acquire Freddie Peralta. They'll be disappointed. I actually think Freddie Peralta is kind of exactly what they need, which I don't like. The Cubs look really good. The Cubs look very, 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 very good. They're clubbing the snot out of the ball. A little positive news for the Brewers. Pat Murphy on Christian Yelich an hour ago. I think he'll be ready soon, and added that it could be during this homestand. The quote is could be. David Gasper following up. He didn't say, but it doesn't feel like Christian Yelich would then get a stint in AAA. We shall see. The lineup tonight: Churio, Terang, Contreras, Sanchez, Vaughn, Renifo, Lockridge, Frelick, Ortiz, and Miz. I'm pretty okay with that lineup. Like, I think that might be their best lineup right now. I know Mitchell's not in there, and I know Bowers isn't in there. They're going against Max Fried. The next 2 days could be a frustrating watch. We'll see. Max Fried and Cam Schlittler, two of the best. And I think Rodon goes on Sunday. Ugh. So the Brewers are going up against three war horses this weekend. We'll see. I know Churio and Vaughn are now back, but going against some of the best arms in baseball. So you go pretty righty heavy tonight. Maybe this is Ortiz's series. Maybe this is Ortiz's chance to finally break out. We'll see. Churio, Terang, Contreras, Sanchez, Vaughn. That's about as good as this team is going to do, which maybe means this team just isn't that good. I don't know. Maybe that's my fear. But we're going to monitor the trade market, the Freddie Peralta trade market. I actually am very interested to follow the Mets. The coverage in New York around David Stearns has gone absolutely wild, and it was bad a week or two ago. It's seemingly only getting worse. Coverage has been really bad, and I don't know if you saw the exchange he had with Pete Alonso, but this is from John Heyman. Maybe Pete Alonso had a point with his sharp dig at David Stearns, and of course it's behind a paywall. Hold on, I'll get it. I'll get the quote. Alonso Stearns. Pete Alonso kind of saying what everyone I think wants to be said of David Stearns. This is from the Post. I found a screenshot. When Pete Alonso made the bold proclamation, see below, that probably helped keep him in Queens another year, he was fresh off his worst statistical season. Alonso wasn't loving how negotiations were going, but he was on his home turf at his Tampa club meeting with Steve Cohen and president of baseball operations David Stearns, and he didn't hold back. Alonso, swinging for the fences, told Stearns, quote, "When my career is being evaluated for the Hall of Fame years from now, you'll still be fiddling with your effing formulas." Alonso made the case, also telling Stearns he's using analytics and biomechanics to be back to his best soon, things to sway a numbers expert like Stearns, but Alonso's one charged comment that's worth examining today. People are pissed with David Stearns right now. I saw a quote from you guys know David Shepard was producing Bart Winkler not that long ago. Here's one of his tweets. David Stearns will go down as the worst executive to ever run a New York sports team. Years from now, there will be case studies on how poorly he mismanaged the Mets and how his narcissism and refusal to recognize the failure caused immense harm to his team. coupled with the fact that during his tenure, the Mets have more resources than ever before. Steve Cohen's decision to place Stearns at the helm will be viewed as the greatest business failure and will overshadow anything great he's done in the world of finance. David Stearns has caused so much damage and continues to do so, and Cohen sits idly by and watches. And as a fan, it's just so sad to watch. So Freddie Peralta might be available, I guess is my point. That's how things are going in New York. I just wonder if I'm David Stearns and I'm trying to preserve myself. I kind of think that's why they're holding on to Mendoza. We discussed this with Matt Pauley earlier this week. We were just talking about the Mets. He says it's pretty crazy that they made Mendoza make some concessions at the end of last season. They said, hey, you can stay, but only if you switch around your coaching staff, which basically means they were prepared to fire him if need be. He sticks around. And then coming into this year, they're holding on to him for what? Rob Thompson's been fired, right? Alex Cora in Boston's been fired. Teams that have not played as badly or played just as badly as the Mets so far have fired their managers. Mets won't do it. And I solely think it's because once Mendoza's gone, fans have nobody to yell about and nobody to yell at other than David Stearns. So if I'm David Stearns, why would I want to fire the guy below me yet? I can only push that button once. And I don't think it's going to fix the team. I don't think it's going to fix their issues. So why would I do it? Everyone can just piss and kick and scream about how Mendoza needs to go. And even if that only provides just a thin layer of insulation for David Stearns, it's still better than nothing. I wonder if David Stearns will approach this Freddie Peralta situation any differently given the circumstances, because again, it's going to be hard for him to come out ahead on this if they want to deal him. They could always just sign him. They could pay him. But throwing a mountain of money at Freddie Peralta doesn't exactly seem like great business when you're already paying Jorge Polanco and you're paying Bo Bichette. Like, some of these contracts are just nightmares. These are the exact type of contracts that are so anti-David Stearns, right? So would you then flip Freddie Peralta just months after acquiring him for Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat? And I think both players will be pretty good. We'll see. And you're going to ship him out. You're going to rent him out now for a lesser haul than you gave up to get him. I feel like the Mets might just keep him. Then again, they're so bad. Like, even David Stearns and his, drive of self-preservation might be kind of forced to make the move because it's truly been that bad. It's been that bad for the Mets this year. Poor David Stearns. Again, I was saying all offseason, like, guys, we have more evidence of David Stearns being a bad general manager than a great one. I think he's good to fine. I think you get a little protection in a small market because so little is expected of you. And if you make little good moves around the fringes, like, oh, he's so smart, he's so sharp. I think other than the David Stearns and Lorenzo Cain moves, David Stearns didn't do a whole lot. The Thames signing was good. Jordan Lyles and Pomeranz were good. Oh, those were pretty significant moves. Like, he gave up prospects to get those guys, especially Pomeranz. Matt Arnold doesn't make those moves. But I don't think Matt Arnold makes the Christian Yelich move either. So you take the good with the bad. We'll take a break. Fins up. It's Friday, last segment of the Wisco Sports Show. Potpourri. We can poke at some things that we haven't discussed yet and wrap up the week. Coming up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Not only going out to Wisconsin and the great Midwest, we're going around the world tonight, Parrot Head.
All right, final segment. Fins up. It's Friday. Big weekend. The Bill Michaels Open tomorrow for Oakwood Hills. Gonna need Kate to carry the team. She's a better golfer than me. That's fine. At least she can drive the ball farther than me. I hope she can also putt better than me. We're going to need it. I'll bring the speaker in the cooler, and I will occasionally strike one well with my 5-iron. It's about all this is about where my contribution ends. So I'm headed to Viroqua tonight after the show. Excited to see Ernie and the folks at our affiliate WVRQ down there. Might have to stop in Reedstown on the way. Kickapoo Creekside. Go to the Cheese Corner tomorrow, get a sub. Just excited to be kicking around. And beautiful night for a drive. Listen to the Brewer game, or I could listen to Cornell 77. First couple innings will probably dictate my choice. They're going tonight against Max Fried. I don't like that. They're going righty heavy. So I guess they can go Sanchez and Vaughn over Bowers and Lockridge over Mitchell. Either feel like kind of just a close your eyes and swing and say a prayer. So we'll see. But that's the Brewers situation tonight. We'll see. At some point, I'm interested to see if the Cubs cool down. They're playing at just a gobsmacked level, and it's funny because I see a lot of Brewers fans on Twitter reacting to these Cubs wins, and I see a lot of Brewers fans saying a lot of the same things that Cubs fans said last year. It's like, won't this team ever lose? It's like, well, sometimes really good teams make hay while the sun shines. When you're on a winning streak, you just keep stacking them. And also, this last series was as much proof as you'll ever need to see that this Reds team is. I mean, they're forgetting the rules and they're booting the ball all over the place. They're getting walked off in multiple games in a row. Like, nope. So this is the Cubs division right now, and we shall see if there's another team, even if the Brewers are able to catch fire. Some team's going to have to win 8 of 10. That's what's going to have to happen. And I don't know that the Brewers have that arrow in their quiver. I know they can slog through and win 2 of 3. I know they can do that thing. I know they can split a 4-game series or a 2-game series. I know. It's not going to be enough to run down this Cubs team the way they're playing. And you don't need to run them down right now. But at some point, the Brewers, to make up some ground and to be a team that could actually compete in this division, they're going to have to win 8 of 10 or 11 of 15 or 15 of 20 or something like that. And I don't know that this team has that in them, because you need an offense that's going to hit the ball not out of the park, literally, although that helps. You need to go on a stretch where you're just raking. And I don't know that this offense has it in them. Bullpen's got to win you some close games. I think we're trending to a place where I can trust the bullpen to do that. I actually believe in the starting pitching. That's the part of this team I'm most confident in, which I guess has been a pleasant surprise. I'm not going to say that a team led by its starting pitching is a bad thing. I just didn't think the starting pitching would need to be the strength and the bus driver of the team a couple games in, or a couple weeks, couple months into the season. Does that make sense? So I'm interested to see if this team, at any point, shows us the mechanisms and the gears and the levers and the belts. It's like, oh, that's a team that can actually get hot and go on a run. The Cubs have shown it because that offense can turn on, and if it turns on, it's, there's not many nights where it turns back off. the way that they're playing. And if the wind's blowing out at Wrigley, forget it, because they'll just put the ball up in the air and it'll go. So the Cubs are actually playing up to their potential, and those players are playing at the level that they should. I don't know that the Brewers have that in them. Beating Cam Schlittler and Max Fried and Rodon 3 straight games, or 2 out of 3 straight games, that'd be a good start. That'd be some proof. That would be very impressive. I don't know that I'm going to hold my breath on that. The breaking news of the day, going all the way back to 4 o'clock, is that the Packers released Brandon McManus today. And I know a lot of people were very confused by that, because the Packers could have released him a month and a half ago and saved $1 million. I think it was mostly just a matter of having an insurance policy, a backup plan, if they weren't able to draft Trace Mack, who they must have identified and clearly wanted to draft. Aaron Nagler tweeted about this today. It's like, I just think that they wanted McManus on the roster, and they were going to hold on to him just in case their plan A didn't work. There's worse plan Bs than Brandon McManus, right? There's worse plans. You could say, well, he wasn't healthy last year. He's been a vet. He's been a pro for a long time. There are worse plans than going into fall camp with Brandon McManus as your leader in the clubhouse. There's better plans, clearly, and the Packers are going for that. But there would have been a worse plan, let's say, if they weren't able to draft Trace Mack. There would be worse plans than going into camp with Brandon McManus. So it cost him $1 million. I don't care. It's not my money. And it's such a small shred of their salary cap, that dead cap number, which I think turns out to be $1 million, maybe a little bit more. Maybe closer to $1.5 million. When you consider that they paid Trayvon Diggs like $500,000 to play, I think what amounted to 4 snaps was a reasonable gamble at the time. You're never going to expect him to, or ask him to be your best corner, your number 1 corner. So that's the news of the day, and I'm kind of bummed about it because I wanted an honest-to-goodness kicker competition. Makes for good radio. We've already been robbed of the backup quarterback situation. It's like, should the Packers sign a backup quarterback? Well, normally we get to do that all summer, but the Packers put the kibosh on that on Monday or Tuesday when they signed Tyrod Taylor. So we've been robbed of 2 kind of cornerstone, quintessential summer sports talk radio topics. So I guess instead we'll stick to the old standbys, which will be the next team to win a championship. The team that the highest expectation, the big picture subject, but also, it's been a while since we've done that. Could they keep 6 or maybe even 7 wide receivers? Well, they only did that once under McCarthy. That's always been, good offseason fodder. I don't think their roster will allow for it this year. But we'll come up with some cliche boilerplate sports talk radio segments to do this summer. Just won't be able to include a backup quarterback, and it won't be able to include a kicker competition. They'll still have a token competition. They'll bring Haversack in, and they'll probably bring in a third guy, some 2026 equivalent to Greg Joseph, and they'll run him out there and say, oh, we like all these guys. We want honest competition. But it's going to be Trace Mack's job. So maybe we can try to buy in a little bit on the radio, but for the most part, it's going to be Trace Mack's job come week 1 unless something catastrophic happens with him in training camp to the point where it's so bad they actually can't, go into the season with him. Have an excellent weekend. Follow Bill's social media platforms if you want to see some content from tomorrow. You can follow me too. I just probably won't post any pictures of it. I'm on Twitter at Wisco Grant. Follow the Facebook page too, the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. Maybe I'll post 1 picture as motivation to get you to go like the page. Have an excellent weekend. Be back on Monday at 4. Talk to you then.
Very much. You sure make a bar from Mississippi.